So I'm really interested in how we can use social media data to analyze cities, and in particular because social media data really represents the voice of the citizens, and in many ways presents their opinions, their viewpoint, their perspectives as they navigate the city. Where people use social media tells us about active and non-active spaces in the city at different times of day. And this scale of data was previously hard to achieve. I did a project for New York City, and I was specifically looking at New York City's garment district. And New York City wanted to rezone its garment district because apparel manufacturing was in decline, not just in New York City, but across the world. And the garment district has a protected zoning around it. And so that means that only manufacturers could be in the garment center or fashion-related businesses. And so there was a lot of vacancies, so the city wanted to think about how to rezone that district. On the other hand, fashion designers said that district was essential for doing work. If they rezoned the district, moved the apparel manufacturing industry out, it would crush the industry. So we decided to use social media to track 100 fashion designers for a 2-week period to really analyze and understand how the different mechanisms of the industry work. And so we had fashion designers, very large fashion designers, people you would know the labels of, to very small boutique shops participate in the study. We had people who had their studios inside the garment district and outside the garment district. And they actually used a social media site called Foursquare to check into everything they did, and then they allowed us to track themselves on their phones. And most of the businesses looked or appeared to be on the east side of the garment center. The fashion designers were claiming, no, we actually used most of the ones on the west side. The data actually proved and validated that. The other thing that we found is that whether you're inside the district or outside the district, 85% of your business transactions happened in the garment district. We also found that large and mid-level designers use the garment district more than small designers. So one of the thoughts that the city had is that these small manufacturing firms in the garment center were only supporting small designers, but actually what was happening is that the large and mid-level design firms were using it more, and they were creating prototypes and whole runs that then get sent to China or Taiwan or wherever else, all over the world for production. And so really what was happening in the garment center is these large design firms are making their prototypes, making small runs, and then they get produced everywhere. So, what this analysis allowed us to do is working with the city. They realized that the agglomeration of the garment district was still very important. They realized that there were some vacancies. And so by looking at where the businesses were currently set, we were able to kind of make sure that the zoning were in those locations, and then freed up particular zones in the district for non-fashion related industries. So the city decided not to move the garment center. They decided to keep it where it was, but to have a modified zoning in the district, which would free up some spaces, but help protect those that were still active and working. And so by having this data set, we were able to make an impact on the policy of the garment center to protect the manufacturers that were there and to also protect the designers that depended on them for their work.